July 20th, 1969. The lunar module of the Apollo 11 lands on the moon. Inside it are two astronauts, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. After landing, Neil Armstrong tries to open the door so he can step outside onto the moon. Opening that door was not easy because the pressure difference was very high. But after some struggle, he finally succeeds. And then he places his first step on the surface of the moon. He becomes the first human in history to walk on the moon. But did this really happen? Even after more than 50 years, many people still do not believe that humans actually went to the moon. Some people say this whole thing was just a drama, a film that was shot here on Earth. And then they ask questions. If this was a real mission, then how is the American flag moving on the moon when there is no air there? Why can't we see stars in the photos, even though in space, stars should be clearly visible? And if Neil Armstrong didn't have a camera in his hands, then who took the famous photo of Buzz Aldrin? These are the questions that create doubt in people's minds. And today, we are going to understand the answers to all of them. First, let's talk about the flag question. People say there is no air on the moon, so how can a flag wave? Does that mean it was fake? The reality is that it was not a normal flag. NASA specially designed it. The flag had a horizontal rod at the top, which kept it stretched out all the time. When the astronauts planted it into the ground, it moved a little while they were setting it up. And because there is no air on the moon, once the movement starts, it continues for a few seconds. That is why in videos, it looks like the flag is waving. But if you watch carefully, after a short time, it becomes completely still. It was not moving because of wind, but because of the force from the astronauts' hands. Now, let's come to the stars question. People say that in space, stars should look even brighter, so why can't we see any stars in the photos? The answer is simple. When the photos were taken on the moon, there was very bright sunlight. The surface of the moon and the astronauts' white suits were reflecting a lot of light. The camera exposure was set for this bright light. When exposure is set this high, faint objects like stars do not get captured. It's just like when you take a photo of the sky during daytime on Earth. You cannot see stars in the photo, even though they are still there. Now, the third question. Who took the photo of Buzz Aldrin? At that time, the astronauts did not use normal handheld cameras. The cameras were mounted on their suits near their chest. That means the camera was not in their hands, but fixed to their body. Neil Armstrong simply adjusted his body angle and took the photo. In fact, if you look closely at Buzz Aldrin's helmet reflection, you can clearly see Armstrong and his mounted camera. And the video of Armstrong stepping onto the moon was recorded by a camera that was already attached to the lunar module. There was no hidden cameraman there. When we understand the answers to all these questions, one thing becomes clear. The things that first looked suspicious actually have simple scientific explanations behind them. This mission was not just a political race. It was a powerful example of science, engineering, and human courage. Every step was risky. Every step had danger, but still the mission succeeded. And that is why, even today, this mission by NASA remains one of the most unforgettable moments in history. A moment when a human being left Earth and stepped onto another world for the very first time.